Israel has been playing the role of diplomatic spoiler. So in the 12-day war, last June, when the U.S. bombed Fordo, we've been focusing on that. That happened in the middle of the 12-day war. Donald Trump said he was going to negotiate with a certain set of Iranians, and literally the next day, 36 hours later, Israeli air power killed them. Killed the negotiators we were set to negotiate with. This was totally spoiling the idea of a diplomatic outcome because they were dead. So you couldn't have a negotiated outcome. Now, if we come to February 28th, who dropped the first bombs that killed the supreme leader, that killed those other several dozen doves that he was meeting with?
Dove.
Donald Trump, as many of our governments have, describes that you had a balance of hawks and doves inside of the Iranian government. And the idea here is with leadership decapitation is, well, if you kill the hawks, then the doves will just be the ones left. We did the opposite, or more correctly, the bombing was started by Israel on February 28. We came in behind. And in fact, Secretary Rubio, our Secretary of State, explained a few days later that Israel basically backed us in a corner because Israel said, we're going to kill that supreme leader, whether you like it or not. And that is going to maybe lead to attacks on your military bases. So you better prepare an air campaign to come behind. And Rubio said that's what happened. Because again, just before the February 28 bombing, we're negotiating with Iran and we're killing the very people that Trump was saying are the ones we wanted to negotiate with, the ones who were going to help move Iran closer to the American position. That was Israel as spoiler.
So there's this individual called Ali Larijani, the former secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, and he was killed in an Israeli-led airstrike on March 17th, 2026. Trump claimed on True Social that, I can't say his name, but I'm going to try, Larijani was the primary contact for a 10-point peace proposal that Trump had called workable and a basis for a real agreement. Trump suggested that the strike was poorly timed when Israel killed him and complained that Israel's lone wolf actions were complicating his ability to wrap up the war on his own terms. He famously posted that he was inches away from the biggest deal in history before the assassination reset the clock.
So this would be the third instance then of Israel as diplomatic spoiler. What you're hearing from Trump's own mouth is he thought he was close to a working relationship, maybe not a full deal, with a certain set of individuals, in this case, Larijani. And what did Israel do when they found out about it? They killed that person. And yes, I understand there's issues of intelligence, but most of us don't have a clearance, so we can't talk about that. So let's talk about the actual public description that we've heard from Prime Minister Netanyahu over the last several years. The public description is that Iran is simply a paper tiger, that Israel has been dominating Iran, knocking out its air defenses, launching other attacks here in 2024. The rhetoric that's coming publicly has been painting the picture of Iran as a weak and not just weekend, but basically cripple. It's down on its last legs, and all you need is a final coup de grace. That has been Prime Minister Netanyahu's language.
The other thing that the audience wanted to know is they wanted more specifics on stage 3.
Yes.
And is stage 3 happening? We talked last time about ground troops.
It's very important, and I've been saying this on the Substack and my X, to follow the key indicators here of deployment, not follow just what's occurring with the rhetoric of our leaders. And the key thing to know is that if you're going to weaken Iran with ground power, there's only a few ways you can get that ground power into Iran. You could try to come through Pakistan. But Pakistan actually is Iran's ally who gave Iran the 600 centrifuges in 2002 to start developing its enrichment program. So, and Pakistan has 100 nuclear weapons or so. So I don't think we're doing this here. You could try to do it with Afghanistan, but notice you'd have to get all the troops in Afghanistan. That's not working. You could also go to Azerbaijan. That's up there. Notice on the first day of the war, there was a missile that hit Azerbaijan, and people on CNN, there weren't, what's going on here? It's just a random. In fact, I think our public statement on that day was this shows how incoherent the Iran leadership is. That's not what I saw. What I saw is they understood that Azerbaijan was always thought to be a staging area to go to Tehran. And so if you're going to take Tehran with a division or two, you would really want to have your forces start here from Azerbaijan. Now, so far, though, that's not happening. Azerbaijan said, nope, don't count on us. We're not getting in the middle of this. Now we're back to why would you start to think about Marines to take territory here on the coasts of Iran?
So inside Iran, where the Strait of Hormuz is?
That's the beginning of it. You would start there inside Iran, around the Strait of Hormuz, as a beachhead.
There's some photos which I'll throw up on the screen showing what the terrain around the Strait of Hormuz looks like, and it is quite shocking.
It's a moonscape, and what you can see is that this is the most difficult terrain for amphibious operations to operate in.
What is amphibious operations?
Where you have troops that are on ships, on landing vessels, just like Saving Private Ryan. They go from the water onto the beach. You would also then have some air power with some Ospreys, but they're doing essentially the same thing. They're coming onto the same beach.
What's an Osprey?
An Osprey is a special made plane that we've made for the Marines. And it's a plane that is a hybrid between a helicopter and a jet. And so the propellers on the plane are able to rotate. So they can fly as a propeller plane here, or a cheap man's jet, or they can actually like a helicopter. And that's really great if you want to fly fast to a beach and then go straight down.
So are you saying that you think they will put boots on the ground in the Strait of Hormuz?
Let me just fill out this a little bit more, okay? So the other big thing that the folks need to know is, where is the oil? Iran's oil, and here I'm drawing a circle here. Iran's oil is all in this southwestern part. Almost all of it is in this southwestern part of Iran. Kuwait's oil is all right here. Iraq has a couple puddles of oil. It has a big puddle of oil right here. Saudi's oil is all right here. You might try to land forces, a division here in Iraq, in Kuwait, in Saudi Arabia, and come around this way. This is why knocking out these bases as truly platforms here, this was why I think they start on day one. This wasn't just to hit the bases in retaliation. They are weakening our ability. They're taking away different axes of attack. And this is why in the Substack I published 3 days before the war, I'm specifically talking about Marines moving in limited areas to take coastal regions as beachheads.
What's a beachhead?
A beachhead is where you have a foothold, a toehold, where you're going to funnel in more forces after that. And you are going to very likely want to control an area that's at least about 100 miles by 20 miles in order to get behind all this this mountainous terrain. And what does that look like? The oil fields, Stephen. This is what President Trump is almost surely talking about when he says he's going to take Iran's oil fields. What he is probably being given options for is how you could start in a limited way with an amphibious, a marine, a limited assault to take a small set of stretch of beaches. And then you would want to follow and take, if you're going to start this at all, you're almost surely going to want to just start to take the oil fields. And President Trump's been talking that way for years, really.
He also said in a recent interview that if it was up to him, he would go and take the oil. But he said the American people won't like that. And he said it once, and then he said it again, and then he said it again. This was during a press conference on Monday, April 6th. He said, if it were up to me, I would take the oil. I would keep it all for ourselves and make a lot of money, because to the victor belong the spoils. But people in the country sort of say, just winning, come home. And I'm okay with that too. And he said that from the interview that I was watching twice, which made me think that he really wants to go take the oil. But if he does put troops on the ground in Iran, it just creates a clearer target for those drone strikes.
It creates a clear target for those drone strikes. But what people maybe are not fully understanding is the political consequences of the deaths of those Marines.
Yeah.
Most people are assuming if those Marines go in and die, this will make America run away. It'll be like a punch in the face and we'll run away. That's not likely to be what happens. Again, this is my area of what happens when you have military force in politics come together. You need to understand that when those Marines go in and say hundreds die or so over time, there will be 36% of the public that will have supported that. That 36% is going to see those Marines died for them. That 36% is likely to double down in their commitment because otherwise they died for nothing. Now, the 59%, who's opposed to the war, they'll still be pretty hotly opposed to the war. I'm not saying they're going to move toward the war, Steven. What I'm saying is you have a Republican president supported by 36% of the Republicans here, almost no Democrats. If you start to actually have deaths here, this is going to lead to a bigger version of we can't withdraw now. We must, quote, finish the job. Otherwise, they will have died for nothing. This is what happened in Vietnam. In Vietnam, in the early stages, you will see that it's sticky up. The support for the war, it takes a while to go down. And why does it take so long to go down? It's because of exactly what I'm saying. The politics of this, of the death of our troops in battle, does not lead to we cut and run. It leads to we double down for the honor of the troops. That's why I'm saying we start this even in a small way. Even it doesn't really matter where you start it, but once you have those ground forces go in and they start to take casualties, you're probably in for the 6-month ground war minimum.
So it looks like they're going to try and avoid that outcome. It looks like they're doing everything in their power, America, to avoid a scenario where they have to send troops in. The threats that have come out of Donald Trump's Truth Social posts really talk about, I mean, look, I'll read this one here. It says, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't know what will happen, but it probably will. And a lot of the tweets are...
Can we just focus on that one?
Yeah.
The civilization, because it's that was a few days ago. A lot of people are already trying to move past it. This has much more importance and endurance than I think we're understanding now. So first of all, that statement that President Trump said that he will end an entire civilization in one night. We need to understand, this is not a drunk at a bar. This is the President of the United States who has at his disposal thousands of nuclear weapons that could in fact achieve that. And let me just explain how hair trigger these are. We have 500 Minuteman III missiles. They have warheads between 100 kilotons and 300 kilotons, which is multiple times more powerful than Hiroshima and Nagasaki, each one of them. And they can be retargeted within 45 minutes. That's what it takes to retarget the gyroscopes. And then it takes about 25 minutes for them to hit Iran. So when the President of the United States is saying this, he's only one of a handful of people in the world who could actually make this credible. Second point is, that is the most declared statement of genocidal intent we've ever seen from an American president. No American president has threatened to end a civilization before, which is at the heart of the genocide treaties in 1948, the intent to commit genocide. Harry Truman, people say, what do you mean? We had Harry Truman, we bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Go and look at his statement on Hiroshima, Harry Truman. He did not say he was ending Japan as a civilization. He pulled back and said it was about to destroy Japan's military power. What President Trump has done by making those statements is he's persuading all 92 million Iranians that he is willing to kill them. And he has the power to kill them. And yes, he pulled back from killing them on Tuesday. And yes, he may not have used nuclear weapons on Tuesday. But if any other leader had said that, imagine Vladimir Putin stands up and says he's going to end American civilization tonight. He's got the weapons to be able to do that. Are we just going to sit back and say, oh, yeah, he didn't do it, he must not have meant it? No, that would mobilize enormous anger against Vladimir Putin in the United States, even among Democrats. And my point here, Stephen, is before this war started, we had a real pro-democracy movement in Iran. And on your show, I told you this was going to fade. This was one of the predictions I made to you. Said this is going to fade over time. You're going to see nationalism bonding the society and the regime closer together. President Trump is bonding them together like never before. If you're one of the pro-democracy individuals here, movement in Iran, where are you going to go for protection? Are you going to go to Donald Trump, who's threatening to kill you with essentially nuclear weapons? Or are you going to go to your own government? This is going to hasten the support, increase the support for Iran developing nuclear weapons. The pro-democracy movement is now likely to support this.
On that point, one of the questions and one of the points raised by the audience last time I had the conversation was really, we didn't spend enough time talking about the 90 plus million people that live in Iran that are often, many of them, caught amongst all of this absolute chaos. And I was looking at a bunch of messages from people that are living in Iran. I'll read some of them from ordinary citizens. I'm not great at math, but where will the money, the resources, and the experts come from to build a country that ordinary people spent decades trying to build? This is a different person. From the beginning of the war until today, we have been bombarded. Not only are we not one step closer to freedom, from what I can see, we are miles away from it. From another person in Iran, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. This has deeply terrified me. It raises really the question. A lot of this discourse doesn't speak much to 90 plus million people that are living there and that are having to exist under this terror. And like the best way that I could conceptualize it is I imagined if I'd woken up one day and Vladimir Putin or some other leader around the world had said that they were potentially going to end the civilization that I live in, the country that I live in tonight, how would I be feeling? And if I was hearing bombs go off all the time, how would I be feeling? And if things were escalating when me and my family lived, how would I be feeling? And it is chilling to think about. It is truly chilling.
It's chilling because this is now moving the needle inside of Iran to make the ordinary person on the street, even the pro-democracy movement, willing to tolerate Iran killing Americans. Because we're killing them. And we're saying we're going to do it even worse. And we're even beyond that, we're saying at the whim of a president who wakes up thinking maybe this will help save his presidency, he is willing to kill the entire civilization of a country because he thinks maybe this is going to be his golden off-ramp to get out of this problem for himself personally. And by the way, we've in our country, when Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11, there was tremendous fear. There would be more attacks by Al-Qaeda in the weeks afterwards. There was just much fear. And I've done the studies of the American public opinion on this. It's the fear of Muslims killing Americans that's driving the support for the Iraq war. If this is happening to Americans, you can only imagine what's going to happen to the ordinary Iranians. And they've been subjected not to just one attack, 40 days of attack.
So for the average Iranian person that opposes the regime in Iran and has been living under terror and oppression for many, many decades, what do you think happens next for them? they're the group of people that I think about and care about the most in this equation. We spend a lot of time talking about US power, and we talk about lots of these other regional partners, but there's like 90 odd million people stuck right in the heart of this that often don't really have a voice.
Their life expectancy will go down in measurable years. So if we had taken out the electric power, so this is something I know quite a bit about. In the 1990s, I was working for the Air Force. Literally under my boss was John Warden, the leader of the Leadership Decapitation School. And he brought in, not classified at all, he brought in engineers of electric power plants to teach us how to take down electric power. The electric power grid in Iran, it looks like a network. And that network has big nodes. That's what President Trump said. He's going to take off the big power plants that produce in the 10s, 20, 30 megawatts range. And there are probably about 130 nodes altogether. But if you just take out the top 10, you're probably going to take down the entire network, because the top 10 nodes are distributed in the right places to support different electric power in different regions of the country. You have two choices in targeting sense. You can take out the transformers, in which case you knock it out for a week or two, and it is inconvenient. And yes, there will be some people who will die. There were human chains around those targets, by the way. Those people would die. But if you took out the hulls, the generating hulls.
What's that?
That's the giant turbines that are huge. There is no backup to those. Each of those is specially made. You will be knocking out that generation for 6 months, 12 months, maybe 18 months at a minimum. What that's going to do is stop all dialysis in the country. That's going to stop all the heart surgeries and other life-saving surgeries that are going to happen in the country. It's going to take out all the food refrigeration in the country. So, you know, when power goes out in your house and goes out for 10 minutes or an hour, it's not so bad. You don't really notice it. But when it goes out for 2 days or 3 days or a week, all the food in your refrigerator spoils, and you can't eat it fast enough. You can't give it away fast enough because it's happening to everybody on your block. Well, that's what would happen across the country. So there's going to be an enormous amount of spoilage of food, and that refrigeration then is not going to be available to come back. And so you're going to have enormous hunger problems here. So people that were already malnourished, they are going to be susceptible to more disease. So you will end up lowering the life expectancy in a measurable way of that population.